Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
Hey everybody, thanks for listening to the podcast. Today we're doing our New Year's predictions for 2019, and then I have 4 incredible psychics that called in to me and gave their predictions, and then at the end I give mine. And so I hope you will enjoy it. It's interesting. I hope you will email me your predictions for 2019. I would love to hear that. Before I get to it, I just want to say a special thanks to all my guests and to Mike Flynn for taking care of my podcast and putting up with all my excessive text messages about it. Let's get right to it because this is a long one, everybody. Hey folks, now I'm here with my friend Paul Jacek, who you can find at Paul Jacek Tarot Reader. Paul, help me.
On Facebook. You can find me at Paul Jacek Tarot Reader on Facebook.
And that's Jacek. And for those of you that are noticing the difference in my voice, I'm taping these all at different times. And this is me early in the morning. When I get up, I'm like a Iranian man. That's what I'm like at 7:30 in the morning. But Paul, all right. So Paul, 2019, what do you got for us?
Well, 2019, we are going to, the 2 things that came to me in meditation is, one is we're going to continue this cleansing, which, what we're going to see certainly on the world stage is going to certainly be reflected in our personal stage. So the first thing that came up is we're going to see this shift in the United States government. It is going to be really, much like a searchlight. It's going to dig out a lot of what has been going on. It feels like it'll be in free fall. So, and I think we will come to a calmness by June of 2019. Yeah. But the first part of the year is going to be really kind of hectic. So everyone, put on your favorite sweater and hold on. So
get your seatbelt. So a lot of more people coming out in the light being pointed. That was right, and that sounds right. Oh, good. Okay. But in June we can relax a little bit. It seems like it feels like
it is. It's going to bust right as we go into the new year. New year, new government. Basically, It's just going to just shake out really rapidly. And the other thing about the theme about cleansing is in people's personal life. I think we're going to see a real regeneration of people looking for the sacred. And in our business, we have people who are interested, or sometimes I'm always fascinated when people come to visit me. Do you consider me a fortune cookie, or are you looking for, direction? Which either or I'm good with. Either or I'm good with. But that's what we're going to see. People are so hungry for the sacred, and especially when the outside world looks unstable.
Right.
We're going to see. That's the other thing is we're going to see let me look at my note here. Yeah, a rise and change in religion as we know it. Good. And what I think is people are going to suddenly realize they don't feel good about what they've been doing, even though it's been taught for centuries.
Wow, that's great. I love that because, sometimes people get so angry with the Catholic Church and stuff, and they want to throw it all away. And there's no reason to throw it all away.
No, not at all. That's why I see there'll be a change. And I think we're going to see it because I can't even speak. And I've had my coffee. With the changes we've been seeing on the political stage, it wasn't really until the Reagan administration that they attached here in the United States religion and politics, although it's always been there.
Right.
It was not as blatant. So within this change we're going to see people saying, wait a second, that isn't what I want. So the change that they'll make personally, that's why we're going to see the rise in the world stage.
Great.
So that was my second prediction. I'm really actually fascinated with that, about how people, centuries old ideas, but going, no, that's not what I want. So within there, taking care of themselves, it will naturally roll over into the world stage. So.
Yeah, I really think that's the great part of the great transformation that we're going through. That is like growing pains to everybody right now, but it's going to take us to the right place.
Absolutely. And then this one I thought was very funny in meditation was A Star is Born is going to win Best Picture. That living here in Hollywood, it is like the Olympic Games for us here in Hollywood. And so I thought, well, and here's the deal. I've not seen the film. So I went, okay, meditation. That's kind of hot. That's what you, my fourth prediction is really interesting. It has to do with plastic.
Oh, I like this.
And how, we have this mass floating out in the ocean, and it's a problem with on our beaches here. I think we're going to see a different way of not only how we're dealing with plastic trash and how the industry in plastics is going to make a shift. Now, that may be later on in the year, but I think we're going to see a real awareness. There's certainly, here in Los Angeles, you have to ask for a straw.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is, it's a start.
Yeah.
And I'm good with that, because there is just, when you see these mountains of trash and these beautiful places, I think we're going to see, and the plastics industry answering it. I think we're going to see breakthroughs in like chemistry and how it's formed,
right?
And how people once again are using it personally. Do I need a throwaway container, or can I take this home and rinse it out? So.
That I love that prediction because, well, I love all of them, but I really love that one because, to me, that's not only a huge deal, but I think that's plastic going into our bodies that
Indeed.
We do not realize is making us sick. I think there's little pieces of plastic going into places or getting into our bloodstream that we're not realizing about. And I think that's really good. And I saw, there was an ad on Instagram, which I am such a sucker. I have to stop with the ads because they know, they have all the data, what I'm looking at. And I got a bamboo, toothbrush, which is okay. That's okay. And I got a bamboo straw, usable straw, not ready yet. Mm-hmm. Bamboo's not ready to be a straw yet, but I admire that they're going that way. So I hope this one, I'm going to try and work to make that prediction come true with you.
Oh, excellent.
Great. Okay.
Well, I also see a rise in people's responsibility of their health.
Oh.
Because within, what has really gone on for the past year and will continue, I think, in 2019, is this realization it's like a log in the forest. It's been there for years, but we've rolled it over, and there's grubs and disgusting and, ucky things underneath it. It's not that we didn't know it was there, but now this bright light is shining all over it. So I think this was my addendum to the plastic, which piggybacks on what you're saying, is people are going to go, wait, that isn't good for me.
Right.
So whether it's your idea to look at your food, whether it's your idea of looking at exercise, this cleansing and removal of things that have been long bothersome is going to give people, it's going to return people to their power of choice, which I love.
Yes. It's funny. I think I hope that people take more choices in their, in what they intake too. My friend Sonia, the animal communicator, just got me an air fryer. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a fabulous invention. I don't know why we didn't have this before. Sonia and I were like, why wasn't this there before? Because it's that good.
Oh, no, my friend Craig, who has lost an enormous amount of weight and has corrected his diabetes, depends on his air fryer, and he makes phenomenal food out of it. I'm excited.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that people are going to be choosing. And also, it's like, I think they're going to start to realize this doesn't resonate with me anymore. They may go out and get a big meal and not feel good after and go. And it's a funny thing because people hate to change like that because they might be like, I love red meat. Well, it might be, your body might be telling you there's something you could love more. And it could be chicken,
indeed,
but because I don't like to push veganism because that's what I am, but it could be anything. I think people are going to start hearing their bodies talk.
Well, I agree with you. I think within this cleansing, I think we've come to a crisis point where people are tired of not feeling good, whatever that means for you. And is it food? Is it me? Is it my faith? Is it, and I see that in my own clientele, people coming in, especially in the past, 60 days, it wasn't small things like, am I going to get a job? People are plopping down in front of me going, I'm just not in a place where do I need to, not only change my job, my partner? Do I need to move? People are feeling restless. And it's a good thing in the fact that you no longer need to just do it because it's the status quo. What it's going to require for everyone, and y'all have my compassion and love for this, is it's going to require courage to change.
Yes. And you know what? And people need to look at their lives as, this sounds so, I don't know if it's trite. Is trite a meat or is that tripe?
Trite is like, it's a lighter version of snark.
Oh, okay. I don't mean this to be that way. Well, skip the word. But we need to start looking at our lives as a game. And we get to the game that we get to play, not something that we're forced to live.
Exactly. Well, and with this cleansing, and people are looking at it, it doesn't have to be dramatic. You don't have to slam the door and walk out on your life.
Right.
You can just move easily. What I also, as this tension begins to break, as we finally, this sounds disgusting, but break the spiritual emotional cyst and the drainage, then there's going to be a nice calm. What's the rush?
Right. Exactly.
So, because there'll be a gentleness that will come out of all of this, because people have been wound up through the ceiling.
Yeah, I'm still stuck on the fact that you went with cyst.
I know. I'm sorry. Before breakfast, I don't know where that is. That's disgusting.
I have little cysts all over my head, and the doctor. I know, and the doctor's like, "Leave those alone," and I'm like, "No, you go at them with a pin." And
honey.
Okay, all right, Paul, that was great. And is that 5? Are you?
Well, and the other one, the last one, number 5 is education is going to take an upswing.
Oh, good. We need that. I need that with my words and my cysts.
Well, and it doesn't necessarily have to mean that you are off to, a university. People are, because we've hit an interesting point in technology. You and I speaking on this phone, there is more computer in our hands than was in the Apollo spaceship. Mm-hmm. So now people are going to, because we've been talking about this restlessness and this hungry for the sacred. At no other time that I remember do you have such availability of information. Right. So people are going to take it upon themselves. What do I need to do? We have Fitbits and we have counters and it's really all available. In fact, creatively, everybody who has an iPhone is now a filmmaker.
Yeah, that's my little web series. And yes, and podcasts. Podcasts have so much information.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So people are going to be gathering information in a helpful way. So I'm not quite sure what's going to happen to all the institutions. I'm sure they'll do just fine, but I was interested that people are going to take it upon themselves. We're going to see a lot of independent thought return, which I'm very happy about.
Yeah. And you know what else? YouTube. Whenever I want to learn something, I go on YouTube and I just watch a bunch of, you just go right through it. And, that's wonderful. Well, Paul, thank you for for participating in Paul Jacek Tarot Reader on Facebook, right?
And that's correct.
And it's Jacek. Jacek.
Yes, indeed.
And wonderful, Paul. Thank you so much.
My good pleasure. And a happy and healthy, prosperous New Year to you, my love.
You too. So now I am joined by, you love her from I think you were on my 3rd podcast, or 3rd or 4th, Terrie Huberman. Thank you, Terrie, for coming on the podcast.
Oh, thank you for having me, Karen. This is exciting.
It is. And you know what? Terrie gives great readings, Akashic Record readings, terriehuberman.com. And also, you want to send her an email. She's starting to do intuitive life coaching, which I cannot wait to hear about. But today, how are you, Terrie?
I'm great. I'm good. How are you, Karen?
Good. I think we're already in the future because we're we're pre-taping this to air on my my thing December 28th. October.
Oh,
what the hell?
Perfect.
Wonderful. And so with your psychic abilities, tell us how what your psychic predictions are for 2019.
Sure. So this is what I came up with. I'll go ahead. I'll just read a few and then, just see sort of what happens here. So the first thing that I came up with is that, and this may sound strange. So, because when it hit me, I was like, what? What is this all about?
I love it.
In 2019, I am going to predict that we're going to be hearing more about John Travolta.
Oh.
I know that's odd. I know that's odd, but I'm like, all right, 2019, what do you got to tell me? And so John Travolta came up. Now, the thing about it is that it feels to me like we're going to hear revelations about the truth being released. Okay. The specific details I didn't get. But it's almost as if there's going to be an exposing of information. So whether he's the one to do the exposing or someone exposes him, it just feels like John Travolta. Oh my gosh, that's the dog is just about to make a squeaky prediction too. So I
know Courage is always making noises in the background.
It's like Morse code with squeaks. So John Travolta. Isn't that
A+ on that, and you intrigued me. That's wonderful, and because also Scientology is being kind of dumped. So we'll look to see what's happening with that. Fantastic.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. So yeah, I'm curious to see if these are going to come true too. So I'm just as intrigued as all of you guys.
And for people that know, this is kind of new for Terrie and I. We don't usually do the world. You know what I mean? The world. I think that's a couple of. So this is. I love how fascinating and specific that was. Okay. Number 2.
Yeah. Number 2. Okay, so this is kind of a twofold here. It's about birthing and birth. So it feels like 2019 is going to be a year of birth. So from folks in our personal lives getting pregnant and giving birth to folks in the media. So I kind of interpreted that as we might hear of more celebrities maybe getting pregnant. But it's almost as if it's like miracle type of pregnancies where people who didn't think they could get pregnant did get pregnant. And this is also on a personal level. So if you know somebody who may have had trouble conceiving, it may be the year where, oh my gosh, this is the year.
Please just don't tell me it can happen when you're halfway through menopause. Please tell me it's not me.
I don't know. You and me both, kid. I don't know. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. I mean, you want to talk about a Christmas miracle. So also in regard to birth as more of like an esoteric metaphorical sense regarding new businesses, groups, and causes.
Great.
So it feels like there's going to be an expansion in those areas, which is why 2018 was so difficult. So it was almost like contractions for the preparation of birth. So, and again, this is on all levels. This is like local to national to international. So that's kind of, what that feels like.
And I think you're right on, because I also feel like spiritually, people are already like, what the hell's going on?
Oh yeah, I'll get to that. That did come up too. That came up too. Also, I predict that there are going to be scandals in the sports world. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
So people being forced to tell the truth and being put on the spot. And this time they're not going to be getting away with it, or they're not going to be able to hide. So it kind of feels to me like that's going to be a stage, like the sporting world. And, just, again, more exposure to, what's really going on.
Right. I love that. I hope it is a year of exposure of all kinds of things.
Yeah, with the good exposure.
Yes, yes.
Right?
Well, I still have this theory that we're eventually all going to end up naked on the internet. That's my theory, because, there's so much taping and this and that we're all going to get over shame by being over-shamed. So exposure is good.
Good Lord. Well, that will, I guess, explain all the dick pics that I get. All right, here we go. People who haven't had romantic relationships in a long time will be coming together in really great, healthier unions than in the past.
Oh, good.
So that feels like a really nice thing. The other thing that comes up for me is that autism is really going to be seen as a more normal type of thing and really accepted. which I kind of like that too, because that should help the youngins, move forward with that.
Yep.
So this was these last ones, or this next one, the next two are kind of weird. So I'm not like a really doomsday kind of gal, but this one kind of,
I am.
I know you are. I'm not. Like, that's why we're perfect together. It's like we're, the duality. It's like, it's the yin and yang. It's perfect. But these next two kind of left me feeling a little meh. So we'll see again. Structures like bridges will need more strengthening. So it feels like there may be a damage coming to like a big bridge that causes a lot of damage. It feels like it's significant, and there might be casualties to that too.
Right.
So, I'm not getting specifics like where that is, but it just feels like, anything that I'm predicting, it just feels like it'll be in the media, or it'll have some attention and people will have knowledge about it.
Yeah, like in Minnesota when that happened. And that's a good, that's not, I don't mean that's a good prediction, but that's
right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's plausible for sure.
Yeah.
And then this next one, God, I guess I did more than I thought, Karen. That's kind of cool.
You did great. You're always great.
It also feels like there could be a really large earthquake in Mexico. And I wrote, or a country around it. Isn't that like the U.S.? It's like only the U.S. and then Mexico, right? There's nothing around Mexico.
Right.
So
maybe you had blocked out Los Angeles because we're here.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that could be. So it could be a big earthquake.
Yeah.
This is also... Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was going to say that's great. Keep going.
So this is an interesting one too. People who start to notice butterflies flying around them are going to be going through huge transformation in their lives, like complete 180s. So it's almost like there'll be more butterflies and people are going to be noticing them more. So I thought that was kind of interesting. That's a little bit more on the spiritual aspect.
That could be my favorite though of all of them.
Oh, really?
I love that. That's very interesting because it's almost like symbols come to life.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of this could just be analogies and metaphors too, So here's another one. People are going to be standing up and speaking loudly in their beliefs, from small, intimate matters to political agendas. And it does, even though it feels like everybody's really separated right now, it feels like people start to come together more towards the end of 2019. So
that sounds good.
Yeah. So even though, there's a lot of separation, and this is on every level, political, personal, the whole thing. I kind of like that. At least we'll probably close out 2019 better than we're closing out 2018, I tell you.
That's true.
Here's the spiritual thing is that we'll start to seeing people taking a more spiritual direction in regards to health and wellness and in functional medicine too. But there's going to be a really big spiritual dichotomy going on. So what it feels like to me is that a lot of people are going to be using spirituality and spiritualism as a way to hide and not have to deal with emotions.
Interesting.
So we're going to start seeing a lot of folks with these holier than thou attitudes as a result of that.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you want to talk about spiritual ego, that's going to be coming up. That's what it feels like. But on the other hand, those with like true, authentic, open hearts, revolving around like real care, empathy, and sympathy, they're actually going to be sought out for help by those who need a connection to like heart-centered people. So it's really interesting because it's like spiritual ego is going to soar. And those with, these come from like true spiritual heart connection places are going to be sought out. So it's not like folks like you and me are going to have to like, tout ourselves so much. It'll just be so easy, like who's real and who's not. So that's kind of,
what?
Cool.
I love that. I had people might remember Jessa Reed was a comedian that had a near-death experience, and she came on the show and she said people are being given the gift of discernment, which is exactly what you said.
Yeah. That feels right. That feels like a really good connection there. And just all in all, 2019 feels like it continues with adventures. Like 2018 was pretty adventurous, but it feels more like there's fruition that comes forward from all that hard expansion and all the hard work done in 2018. So I actually have a very positive outlook or feeling about 2019.
Yes, you do. You're a very positive person. You know what? I kind of feel like even when things are bad, they're getting us to where we're supposed to be.
Yeah, I agree. 1,000%. Yeah.
Oh, Terrie, you're the best.
Oh, no, you're the best.
Let's make sure everybody can get to your TerrieHuberman.com, TerrieHuberman.
That's right.
Yes, wonderful. Get a reading from Terrie, get a life coach, get something there. And always a pleasure having you in the Psychic Stand-Up Show, which I'm sure we're going to be doing next year in, I don't know where, a couple of places maybe.
Nice. I'm excited.
Yay. All right. Thanks, Terrie.
You're welcome. Thank you, Karen.
Fierce, Funny, and Female has won over 10 book awards, and probably while I'm telling you this, it's winning 10 more. As one of the first women to work as a laborer in the Texas oil field, Marty McGibbon set off explosives and staked oil wells before realizing her childhood dream of becoming a successful stand-up comic. Marty introduces readers to a wide range of characters in her life, from sleazy authority figures and crazy corn belt cult leaders to Texas oil billionaires to wild-eyed redneck co-workers who robbed banks on their lunch hour. This is the second in Marty's series, and it is one of the most exciting stories. It's the story of a young woman's triumph over adversity and trauma, told with grace, wit, and laugh-out-loud humor. Look for Fierce, Funny, and Female on Amazon.com, author Marty McGibbon.
Hey, everybody. Okay, so now I'm chomping on some gum. I did the first one with Paul in the morning. I did Terrie at night, and now I'm in the back seat of my car with April Eckfeld after a show. April, thank you for being on this episode.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
And you know I'm a fan of your psychic readings because I became the captain.
That's how you became the captain, that's what we found out.
Yes. So wonderful. So what do you see for 2019?
Okay, 2019. Well, it's going to be fun. I see a continued upheaval, but that's not all bad. Let's see. I see the first third of 2019 being kind of like a misdirect. Like the what's going to happen in the first third of 2019 is not in any way going to resemble what happens in the second part or the third.
Okay.
All the action is at the end of 2019. More water events, definitely.
You mean rains and floods?
And floods, like what that, that's just going to continue. Sorry, I've got like so much stuff spinning around. I wanna.
Good. I won't
really
interrupt either. Take your time.
Okay. This is the silent podcast.
I can edit that out.
But you can feel the energy, right?
Yep.
Okay. I don't know why, but I don't ask. I'm seeing China and Mongolia. I'm being shown the map on the globe, and I see Mongolia and China, and I see literally a storm, like a weather storm, like we've never seen before. Sort of like what you would imagine if you were looking at another planet.
Wow.
So the events that are happening are going to start drawing our attention to in some way, these weather events are going to remind us that we are on a planet that's round. That this is one of the things that will happen in 2019. People are because we still operate sort of like, oh, we're over here watching the world on TV. You know how we can separate ourselves.
Uh-huh.
So this is going to progress at such an accelerated rate that there will be no mistaking or denying it. And it's a little bit of a terrifying proposition or prediction, but it's a big weather event and has to do with water. And I see it over Mongolia and China. I see that happening in the summertime. First third, I'm seeing it in thirds. The first third of 2019, also, we're all really excited to get out of 2018. Those of us who didn't vote for Trump. And that's not gonna fix it. But even the symbolic change of a new year is going to provide enormous relief, because we need some sort of we need some sort of rite of passage. We need something. So a lot of people are becoming more spiritually connected and grounded, right, because of the absence of grounding and connection in, everything that we see in the sort of three-dimensional world. Lots and lots of people are awakening their medium and spiritual and psychic and intuitive powers, or their abilities. Mm-hmm. So many of my readings that I'm doing are in people asking about their own intuition. It's like they're relating to their intuition now like they need it. Right. Not like it's a luxury. And not even like it's something, like they want to do psychic readings or anything like that. It's really just like, how can I get a grip on what's happening in the world, and how am I going to live in this place that, and the internet has actually helped us to realize that we don't live just in a three-dimensional world. Right. Good. So, so those are good things. It's like you've said this repeatedly. I know you say it in your podcast, and you said it even in the show tonight, that the breakdowns or the dismantling of institutions and things is necessary to lead to the breakthroughs or the new world. Right. Knock it down and build it up. Yeah. Yeah. So there will be continued, we're going to see like the continued follow through of cycles that we've been watching with horror for the last 2 years and more, but especially in the last 5 to 6 months. I want to give you hard predictions. I'm going to test myself. I see Trump the seat's just going to get hotter for him, but he's going to float above it. I don't see him he's made it complex enough. We've all made it complex enough by the seeds that we've sown, that it's not as simple as him being impeached. Got it. To resolve the issues that he created. The karma is bigger than Trump himself. This is just for the non-Trump fans, I understand, because so many of your fans are Republicans. I have no idea. I know. Well, everybody's spiritual, so let's see what else. We're so distracted too that we've kind of like opened the portals by our distractibility for elementals and other creatures from other worlds. It's very easy to get into like the earth realm now. And so we're going to have to build a wall. Yeah, a wall of blue light around your aura. So people are, it's the fact that we're so distracted by our electronic devices and just the noise. So learning how to quiet down the noise is kind of like a life-saving skill that people who develop it will help them. Because it's like people are not in their bodies, they're floating above their bodies, and they're in other places. And so lots of accidents can happen. I feel like I'm giving the doom and gloom report right now. No, everybody has said that, and you know what? I'm all about doom and gloom. Okay. I love that. I'm usually not, so this is like, that's how I know this is legit. Because I'm going to make this up. So if anything, what I'm being told right now by my guides is like, tell everybody to meditate, everybody to take walks and do those things that like remind you that right now, at least, you're in a body. Because it's like the mothership. It's a little ship. And you need to not let any pirates hijack your ship. And our ships have been kind of hijacked already. Yeah. It's good. I appreciate the validation from what you're saying that you've heard from other people. Let me look. Are there any specific areas that I can look at? Let's see. There's
I'm going to throw one at you that I have distinct feelings about. Tell me about the Prince of Saudi Arabia. If you don't know who he is, that's okay.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
He's being kind of iced out. It's becoming like, I see a little bit of like a good and evil, like a black and white polarized world. And he is in bed with other dark energy things. I don't even want to call them people, but he has a very sharp shape. He's one of the most dangerous of all. And the threat with him, Trump is afraid of him.
I'm afraid of him.
Yeah. He's a big threat, and Trump wants to partner with all the sort of threatening entities to protect himself. He's actually one of the weaker ones. Trump.
Yeah. I think that prince is going to be enormous trouble.
Yeah.
Throughout the world.
He has some weird buffer around him. He has protection, and part of it is the fear that he has managed to instill in these people that are, world leaders, if they deserve to be called that. He's like pure id, shadow, a lot of ego, very young, very energetic, very entitled.
Very reptilian.
Yes. Cold. Yeah, there's no blood. It's a real threat.
To the world.
I see the three. I see Putin and the prince and Trump as like kindred reptiles.
Yeah. And throw North Korea in.
Pardon?
North Korea, I think, goes in that.
Kim Jong-un?
Yeah. Not quite their stature.
No, he's somebody, he's like the guy in the fraternity that gets hazed a lot, but he still sticks around.
Yeah, he's the stepchild.
Yes.
Looking for attention.
Yeah, he could do damage, but his concerns are so emotional, that he's not as functional. He's not as precise and capable as the Saudi Arabian prince and as Putin.
Great.
Gosh, I didn't expect all these politics.
I know, but that's kind of when we think world. I don't know. There's world. There's politics. My friend Mila's here. Mila, anything to throw in the pot?
No, I sense that too. When you talk about all three of them, I just get chills. Like,
I'll say that again.
I get chills when all three of them are mentioned together. That triangle of the three of them. It's just that's not good.
I see them hovering over the Western Europe. All the three of them. I see this. I don't remember his name, Mohammed, or this Saudi Arabian prince. I see him going north. I see Putin going south, and I see Trump going east. So it's about the domination of that continent,
the one world order. Okay, last question. Do you see? And it'll be in my thing at the end. Do you see the disruption in our country amongst our people? Whether it's Trump, no Trump, or whether it's anything?
Well, what I'm interested in is our people, meaning just ordinary American people. I'm interested in all people, but when I look at the United States, I see it's interesting, like the working class rising to higher levels of intelligence through adversity. It's weird. It's like we've skipped back so many decades, and there's in contrast with what we see, like what you see sensationalized in the news is like people being represented as ignorant or uneducated and, being followers of belief systems. And I see something very different. I actually see people who work with their hands and would like to live off the land or may have to live off the land, like realizing that is their wealth, is their ability and their patience to step by step use their gifts and talents to build something and to think their way through what they know. They're trapped. A lot of people who have been shamed in like liberal media they know that they were tricked, and they're not stopping at that. That's what they have is time and energy at their disposal, while other people are at the spa or busy on Instagram or whatever they're doing, like people whose lives really depend on it and have many children and many generations living closer together, and they have a stronger sense of like posterity. I see people valuing education. I do see the interference coming from, the sort of Betsy DeVos and all of that. There I go to politics again, but I do see like an attempt to keep people ignorant, and they're rising up against that. So censorship is actually an issue again. I see that being really big in 2019. We should all be reading banned books.
Banned books?
Banned books. All the classics are banned. Yeah.
I thought you meant like the musical band.
No.
Like, why do we all need that?
If a book was banned, put it on your list.
Got it.
Let's see what else. I want to say something about the Me Too movement.
Okay.
And all of that. It's in disarray. It's the heart of it. Everyone can find like there's a reason for it, and there's something that makes sense about it, but it's become the sort of brand of it, and some of the force of it has kind of splintered its power, and there's some abuse happening within it, and so that's going to have to get sorted out. But I see women being quite fierce, and the dismantling of a lot of the corruption that we've been seeing in all areas, especially in corporate business, and sort of like that protection that, men protecting men, is going to be taken down by women who are courageous and ferocious. So I don't say that like to shame anybody about the Me Too movement, because I'm all for it. But there are corrections and there's some consciousness that needs to be raised around it.
Yeah.
And, if we create victims and enemies out of perpetrators, but also out of good people who are open but may not have the vocabulary or the language for what it is that we're talking about or what we're dealing with, we can do better with more patience and more skill at educating them and realizing that they are helpers.
Fabulous.
Does that make sense?
It's fabulous.
Okay.
April, tell everyone where they can find you.
Yay. You can find me. I have a new Instagram page. It's April Readings, plural. APRILREADINGS. And that's the best way to find me because everything's there.
Awesome. Thank you, April.
Thank you, Karen.
Melissa Cynova is here ready to give her predictions. How are you, Melissa?
I'm doing really well. I've had a great weekend, and I'm really glad to talk to you.
Thanks. And you know what? So everybody probably figures I'm taping this. We're already in the future because I'm taping this before, so it comes out on the 28th. But I'm going home, and I am so excited to take your tarot class when I'm home.
Yay.
Yeah, it's going to be
That's
so fun.
Awesome.
I know. I can't wait. It'll be, then I won't have to listen to my parents. I'll have my earbuds in and they won't know a thing. So Melissa, melissacynova.com. That's it. And it's, MEL. It's, you said this great the other day. 1 L, 2 S's.
Yep.
CYNOVA.
Exactly.
Melissa, what do you see coming up for 2019?
So I pulled some cards for it, and I got 6 cups and the devil and the queen of cups. And water is emotion. And 6 cups is kind of about finding joy. And queen of cups is about containing your own joy and figuring out what makes you happy. It's a very personal card. And then the devil, I think, is kind of outside influences in this regard. Mm-hmm. So it's been a hell of a few years.
It has.
And I think that people are really looking into themselves, like, how can I stay grounded? How can I be strong? How can I support my people? Because the Six of Cups is really about finding joy in your life, like not going out to look for it, or not trying to buy it, or not trying to find it on Facebook, but sitting down with your family and your heart family, both your logical and your biological families, and making sense of the world that you live in. And I actually had a reading a couple of weeks ago, and I said, it's when it's all dark outside, each of us has something that we can do to make it lighter. And I think that, a lot of people are getting political, a lot of people are speaking up, and each of that is us lighting our own lights. And if we get enough of them together, we can kind of chase away some of this darkness that seems to be falling over us lately.
Yeah. I always feel like that darkness is the test. It's like, it's almost like I don't feel like the bad things that are coming are bad things. I feel like they're things that people will start to go, hey, this is life. We're going around in this bodysuit once. Let's do it right. Let's be good. Let's do what we want to do. That kind of thing.
Right. And I think that the last 2 years have been kind of, I don't know, depressing, like in a community sense, like everybody is struggling. And I think that the reason that is because now no one can say, I don't know anybody who's been affected by the changes that are going on in our country and in our world. Yeah. No one can say that anymore. And I think that the darkness came so that we would all look up and realize these problems that we thought were in the past, they're still here. They're just less sneaky now. So I'm really excited about next year because I think it's going to bring a lot more light to our world. And I know that sounds super hippy dippy woo, but that is my job, right?
You know who you're talking to.
Yeah, and I'm an eternal optimist. And I think that, if you look at the tower in the tarot, the next card is the star. So after the tower, when everything crashes down and gets dark, the very next step is a gentle light that says, you know what, I think we're going to be okay, you guys.
Yeah.
And you start standing to your feet and taking your breath back and realizing what's around you. So these three cards for the next year tell me that we're going to be okay. And the devil is still there. He's not going anywhere, right? I mean, his job is to basically draw us in and then chain us up, right? Mm-hmm. What is the worst part of being a person? What are our base feelings? What is the easiest thing to do? He's still going to be there, but I think he's going to have a really shitty year. And I think the good guys are going to win. I mean, it feels like a very optimistic, community-based kind of year. I really dig that.
I do too. For those of you that keep hearing a train, that's a text message from my sister. So,
I love her. So that's cool that she's jumping in. Tell her I said hey.
We're finishing up the Christmas list, so you hear a train. Woo, that's her. Yeah, and you know what else? The devil is the laughter card, and I feel like if people start to see things from a bigger, it's almost like instead of being in the game, looking at it from a higher perspective, they're going to feel better about everything.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's that kind of relatability. Like if you shine the light on the devil, you'll see that he's just like, a goat man with a fucking blunt in his hand and chicken wings. And he's not that scary. It's the fear that's scary. It's all of the connotations that come with him that's scary. He ain't nothing.
Absolutely.
And the brighter we shine the light, the smaller he gets and the less effectual he gets. And then the good guys will win because they always have in the end,
Yeah. And this country is going to come back together. And I feel like as some of this negativity too is us seeing who we are. Like you're like, like everyone around you is a mirror. So you got to take a look at that.
Mm-hmm. And I think that, particularly in the last 30 years or so, like with racism, racism is solved. We have a black president. Well, no, not really.
Right.
Or with homophobia, you guys can vote now, or you guys can get married now. So I guess everything's fine. No, transgendered folks are still getting killed at a much higher rate than everybody else. And it's still, deadly for some gay kids to tell their parents. who they are. So it's bringing it all to light. Like, no, everything's not fine. And the more we talk about it, then it will become fine. But we have to all be a part of the conversation. And like I said, I think that's why the darkness came, because no one can step out of this conversation now. No one can put their fingers in their ears and say, you know, like myself, married to a Mexican with 2 half Jewish children, big part of the queer community. There's no way that I can avoid, you know, looking out for my community, because it's part of who I am. It's part of my life.
And that right there is what I think is beautiful about, is that you have all these mixes. So there's all these different cultures coming together right there in your house.
Yeah, exactly. And it gives you kind of this perspective, like, you know, if someone should say shit about Mexicans, that's my husband. Are you sure you want to say that? Are you sure you want to generalize? And I do think it makes people stop and think about, am I saying this because I'm afraid? Or am I saying this because I believe it? Am I saying it because somebody told me to be afraid of people who are different than me? Or am I saying it because I truly believe it? And I think that people are seeing that it's fear-based. And once you recognize that, you know, it's easy to let the light in. It's easy to let it in.
Yeah. And I feel like people sometimes can get defensive really quick. And you know, everyone's racist. Somewhere deep down inside, everybody's got something going on, because we're not perfect humans. So I feel like if people, like everybody was against, people get very upset. Political correctness is ruining everything. It's too much, you know. Oh my God, they banned a song. They want Santa to be a female. It's like, you know what? That's like one person, and then everybody gets upset. You know what? I don't have that much of a problem with political correctness, because if it's not okay to say this and it's okay to say that, then let me know. If that's going to hurt, you know, I don't want to. That's cool, man. We're all evolving.
Well, and we learn more, and then we do better. You know, I haven't always been the paragon of liberalism or leftist. I grew up in the country, you know, but as I learned better, I did better. And I think that that's the important part. It's, you know, you do have to examine your privilege, and you have to I just read a blog post about this. It's about humility. You know, you have to look at yourself and say, I'm a white person who was born middle class. I had parents the whole time I was growing up. You know, we were poor, but we weren't hungry. And I went to college. I have a good support base. I have a lot of privilege in my life. And that gives me a voice that I need to use for folks that are not as privileged as I am. Right. And that's all there is to it. It's seeing yourself as the same, regardless of your circumstance of birth. And I just think that there's, you know, like the kids say these days that, you know, people are woke, right? And I think that that's an absolutely true thing that's happening. People are waking up and saying, you know what, there is systemic racism, and this is not okay to say that about gay folks. And they're actually waking up to what our world really looks like. It's not just the people in front of you. Yeah. It's the people in your community. And I don't know, I think I'm very optimistic about next year. Actually excited about it. You know, last year I was like, oh shit, 2018, here we go.
I know.
And I was not looking forward to it at all, but I'm really excited about next year, because I think it's going to be a lot of people coming together and shining their lights. I think it's going to be great.
And I don't mean to stray off topic, but I knew I could talk to you forever. I think the people that are discovering their intuitive power, their empathic, all these things that they're discovering that are making them better people. And it did seem probably scary to a lot of them last year. But I think it's that is making everyone better, because that's almost seeing people from the inside out instead of the outside in. And there's a whole bunch of you. I think that's a whole big part of my base here, is people that are curious because they know something is going on. And I think that we're going to get into the easier part of this 3-year transformation.
Absolutely. And I've sold so many tarot classes this year, more than I ever have ever before. And I think it's because people are looking for tools to help them understand all this information that they're picking up on. Yeah. You know, they need tools to help them distill it and figure out how to use it. And tarot cards are really, awesome way to do that.
They are.
Which is why I have 200 of them.
Yeah, that's right.
I have a problem.
Yes. And it's so funny because I keep going at the end, I'm doing all my predictions. So I'm trying not to say them during, but, yes. Okay. Anything else? Any weather of anything else, to come off the top of your head?
I'm not really good at weather unless it's about people. I'm really good at reading people, and I can tell you that I think that people know who they are now more than they have in the past 20 or 30 years at least. I think people are realizing who they are, and the closer you get to that, the closer you get to living an authentic life and pulling those things away that don't serve you anymore and that don't represent the best part of you. Right. So I think a lot of people are changing, and that can be really scary. But man, if you just keep going, you'll get to where you need to be.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
that's beautiful. Well, thank you, Melissa.
I'm so fucking deep.
That's why I love you. It's melissacynova.com. Folks, go get a reading, go get a tarot class, go get something. You helped me out a lot. In fact, really with my, you know how run down I was, and you sort of set me straight. Now I try to get a little massage at the little cheap place down the street every Sunday, and it grounds me so well.
Good. Stay in that body because you've got important work to do.
I hope so. All right, Melissa, thank you so much. Happy New Year.
Oh, delighted to talk to you. Happy New Year to you too.
Who do tarot readers go for tarot readings? They go to Melissa Cynova at melissacynova.com. She gave me the best reading a couple of months ago that is still resonating and helping me out now. She is authentic and to the point. You loved her on the podcast. She is the no BS tarot reader. She also has a tarot class online right now. Check it out. Just watching the promo, you will see how much fun you are going to have while you learn. Also, check out her book, which is always right beside me when I'm doing my readings or my tarot card for me in the morning. It is called Kitchen Table Tarot, and you will love it. Melissa Cynova, that's MELISSACYNOVA. Check her out. Okay, everybody. So that was everyone else's predictions, and now we'll get to mine. And I want to thank everybody that did that because, we're all tarot readers or psychics, but we're used to working with one person and focusing in on that one energy. So I want to thank everybody that, Paul and Terrie and April and Melissa, because everybody went out on a limb, and that's kind of scary, especially to do on tape. So and now here comes mine as I adjust my heater. My first prediction is that I won't find my glasses that I need. Oh, I found them already. I'm wrong. Okay. So I tried, and I didn't realize a lot of people don't know. Most of you probably, if you listen to podcasts, you know that a psychic sees the future, a medium talks to spirits. So there's all kinds of different subcategories. I know people always tell the joke, why don't psychics ever win the lottery? I hate that joke. Don't ever tell me that joke. But it's all different things, the way we work and the way we see. So I really had to sit down and focus on this, but I tried really hard to go out on a limb and get specifics, you guys. So here are my predictions for 2019. Okay. And also I try to keep this, I don't talk about politics on this show. I'm sure you all wouldn't be a huge leap to figure out where I land on the political thing. But, this show alone was the only one where I really kind of let it go because it's really part of where we're going and what we're doing. And, so there's a little bit of politics in mine also, but I tried to keep them non-opinionated. But the first thing that I found that I thought for 2019, I actually think this is long term. I am very, very worried about the Saudi prince. And by the way, some of these do fall into a darker category, but I want you to listen to my little pep talk at the end, why you should not worry about these things. Okay. I am very worried long term about the Saudi prince. There is the thing about him, about the reporter being killed. I think he's going to be a problem. And I think, as time goes on, he's going to be a big problem. All right. That's my first prediction. I think we have not heard from him like we have, like we will. And I think, the kind of the way we look at sometimes those world things where we see, oh, look, there's Trump and there's Putin and there's, you kind of see the world powers. I think he's going to move to that spot and he's going to become more well known than anybody in the Middle East. And he's going to be an issue. And he's also a weird issue because we're buddies with Saudi Arabia. There's a lot of interaction, so it's going to be tough. And today I'm not having coffee. I'm having everyone take a sip of your echinacea tea. Okay, second prediction. Human trafficking is going to be up front. Okay, the Me Too movement opened it up. You're going to start to see human trafficking rings left and right to the point where people are like, what the heck? That is just going to have its day. It's going to come out. You're going to see more of the stories like you saw in Florida, where all the rich CEOs or whatever were with underage girls. And that story did not end well. And I don't have the details of it. But if you look in Florida, there was an attorney general that gave a pass to all these guys. That is going to start surfacing left and right. And it is about time that it was put in the forefront. Number 3, I agree with April on the China storm. I think she had a great call there. I didn't get that myself alone, but when she said it, I was like, I think she's right about the never-ending storm. Here are some medical findings. I know that we've seen the animals are here to show us, and I know that Sonia King would say that. And I know that there's a lot of videos of straws and stuff causing damage in the ocean. That is the beginning. We're going to find this year the plastic in bottles. There's going to be a war on plastic, and I do believe that we're getting a lot of it in our system that we don't realize about through plastic bottles in the sun, and plastic is everywhere. I just went to a party and all the straws were paper, and I felt like I got this rush of like, woo, all right. And also, just so you know, guys, you can get your own straws online, which are I have two very big, heavy plastic straws that I've been using for over a year that are made to be used and reused. Of course, I wish they were something else, but you can get metal straws online for yourself, for your keychain. And also, that's probably sanitary if you watch them. A little connected to Saudi Arabia, I see a lot of problems for Turkey. I don't know why, but I see a lot of problems for Turkey. Bombs going off and stuff like that. A feeling about France, and I know I have some international listeners, so I don't know if I'm going with just an American stereotype here, but there was always this good Lord about France surrendering. That has always been a joke or something like that. That joke is over. And I'm not talking about what's going on in France now. I believe that France is going to start either somehow involved militarily or something with what's going on in the world, and they will no longer be perceived as weak in any way. And I don't know what that means, but that was the message I got over and over. Okay. United States will still be the last to talk about alien disclosure. We're going to hear about it every left and right, except the government's still not going that way. Okay. I do see, first of all, I think next year, especially for the United States, is going to be year of the little guy. And I'm seeing a lot of protests. I'm not seeing any, what is that called, where everything is shut down? Martial law. I'm not seeing martial law, and I'm not seeing the military involved, but I do see a lot of protests where the police are involved. Okay. And I think though that's actually, I don't see that. I see that, seeing that, but I don't see like people are dying or there's guns, but I think there's going to be a lot of that more than there has been, or it's going to be on the news more, or we're going to be very aware. And it's going to actually you are going to start to ask yourself, who do I stand with? And I don't mean you have to make a choice. I mean, you're going to go, okay, you know what? I'm going to go to that protest and I'm going to back so-and-so. And it may not even be something that touches your life right now, but people are going to start to take back this country. Earthquake, LA, and in the Midwest, I feel like I kept getting Kentucky, but I don't know what that's about. I feel like there's going to be something about Kentucky, and the storms will have a lot of course, hurricanes, earthquakes, storms feel bad. But something's going on in Kentucky, and I don't know what it is. Flooding will be the prevalent, even more so than hurricanes. It will be after flooding. Flooding will be the trouble. Okay. I see the breakdown of politics everywhere, and I see this in more of a 2-year span. And you all know that I'm dead set on these 3 years being transformational. This year, I feel like was the wind up. Next year, the scandals, the breakdowns, the who's running the country, probably government shutdowns, probably on a local level even. I don't even know if that's possible. But I feel like this really is the little guy. And so I feel like that is going to be, we've always had political scandals and stuff, and but I feel like this year it's going to be everywhere, and people are going to pay attention. I know sometimes when it gets to be too much, it's we tone it out, but I also think a lot of these are going to be fueled by they're going to start not like sexually, like people had an affair. Oh, this person had an affair, and the affair's in the news. But I feel like there could be some really dark stuff about what people are doing, which this could go back to human trafficking. It could be just be where the money is moving or something like that. But it's going to be something that's really going to get people's attention. And I believe there will be videotape. There will be a bank that will close. Okay. And there will be chaos as though people are like, oh, I got to get my money. That's not it. The money will be safe. Don't worry about your money. But there's a bank that is either very much involved in criminal stuff or is hacked. But one of the two, it's going to be like one of the big banks is closed today. Oh, you can still get your money at ATM, blah, blah, blah. But a bank will close. And then I have it closing for a day. I don't know what happens to it after. Okay. Excessive storms. You know what else? There will be health issues like for us. Like I have this cold now that goes on forever. There will be a couple of things like that. Millennials, who you know I am a big fan of. I know we make the jokes that they live at home and blah, blah, blah. But I am a big fan of millennials, and they will start to find their way, and they will start to find their power. And that is through elections, and that is through their voices, and they're going to start speaking up and becoming groups that you'll see the old comics make fun of. Oh, we didn't have all these terms like transgender or fluid or blah, blah, blah. Those jokes will be politically incorrect in about 3 years, and the millennials are going to start to step forward and be like, hey, this is who we are, and we're taking over. And I'm so for that. I love you guys. Okay. There's something we're going to find out about Colorado. Now, for those of you that know, shadow government, or like when 9/11 hit, they flew Dick Cheney, they flew the vice president to Colorado. And Colorado has always had this sort of, even in the movies you see, people, when there's a big tragedy, everybody goes to Colorado because there's either, I don't know if there's an underground city or an underground safe place or something like that. But I believe this year we're going to find out what that is. I know it has to do with where Colorado is, that it might be the elevation or something, and it's in the middle, so it can't be hit with a tidal wave or something like that. But I feel more information on Colorado. Now, when I said you're going to start choosing who you stand with on these sort of small skirmishes. And I'm hoping I'm right on this because I don't see any worse protests than we have. But I do see people stepping forward. And this is a big one. The farmers are going to start to fight Monsanto. They're going to start to fight the big companies. And the big companies, you're also going to see them trying to get these holistic companies, or you might see a recall on herbal stuff. And they're going to say, see, that's because the FDA is not looking, blah, 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 blah. I believe those are going to be intentional. And I believe you're going to see farmers start to fight back against these big companies that have forced them into much smaller things like farmers markets. I say, if you got the day off, go help the farmers. There's something about that. They're done. I know there was sort of this consensus that They're like, well, we'll hang on until the trade war and this and that. This is different. This is not about the government. This is about the companies that are closing them. I believe you're going to see stories. You're going to see how these people have been made to make no money and sort of pushed in submission. And we need to change that. There will be a recall on milk. I don't know what that means. Putin will turn against Trump. Okay. That is not going to be good. I don't see Trump finishing out his 4 years, and this may be part of it, or it may be after. I feel like Trump is out, but Putin will turn on Trump, and I can see him laughing at him. That could be a ways off, and it could also be a reaction. But North Korea will be doing more missile work, but I think they're going to be quiet. I don't see a lot of news about North Korea, but those sort of, because there's going to be other news, but sort of those side stories like he's still testing missiles or he has a missile, and then they go on to something else. Here's one. The Catholic Church will open a positive dialogue about homosexuality. Okay? I feel like that is and I'm actually not familiar on their stance other than no. That they're like, no. I don't know that I want to say they will accept gay marriage, but they're going to change a stance on homosexuality, which they should. Okay. There is a little boy in India, I keep saying little boy, that will either perform a miracle or have an ability that we have not yet seen. It will be a news story. It will not blow up. It's not going to like change everything, but I see people sort of worshiping him, and he's like, no, that's not what we're doing. I don't know if that's a Dalai Lama. I don't think the Dalai Lama, I don't think he's Indian, but I think there's something about a little boy in India that it is a very positive, encouraging story for all of us. I see, again, we're walking into the age of the little guy. Those of us that didn't have power are now going to start walking together. I see that being a big deal in Africa. I don't even know that much about Africa, but that came up like that. Okay, so now to close this out, first of all, so those are my predictions. We'll see what happens. If you guys have any predictions, please send them. And I'd love to hear from you. I want to say, though, even though some of those sound dire, I don't want any of you to feel afraid. And we kind of covered this in a couple of the things that we're saying. I feel like if you can see the big picture of what's going on in the world and in the country, it's about us little guys taking things back. Okay? Change does not come easy, and it might look hard, but I feel like we are getting to this point where those norms that we relied on that were like, oh, they just do that, or even my vote doesn't count, all that is going to change, and it's going to empower, and it's going to be a hard growing pain, but we're all in this together. And I want to say thank you all for listening. I had no idea. I hesitated to start this podcast. You guys, thank you for all the reviews and the stars and the kind things and your emails and your letters. I am thrilled. I never thought I was going to love this podcast this much and love you guys. It's all positive. And I hope you will always, even if you don't listen anymore after today, I hope you will always remain curious, because I think that is our greatest growth tool. I hope you will always challenge me. I hope you always challenge me to ask the right things of our guests. And I hope you will speak up. That's really the biggest thing. Please speak up and know that as we all are in this kind of confusing time, a lot of people, especially with tarot readings, they call me and they ask me, what is my purpose? What is my purpose? And I believe if you just change that question to finding out who you are, that's where your purpose lies. Because when you know who you are, you bring a light and energy to this planet that no one else can. And this is no longer, like I said, my vote's not important, I'm not important. Everybody is going to start to learn that they are important. And working together is what we need to do. And again, I just can't say thank you enough for listening to the podcast. And I hope I've opened your curiosity up, and I hope you're entertaining new things and new things about yourself. So everybody, Happy New Year. And I hope I'll hear you or see you and hear from you in 2019. And just remember, we're working to everything being good. And now I'm blathering. Thanks, everybody. Have a great New Year's.